Hello, hello. I am Ben Pick, and thank you for joining me in Running to Write, where I give questionable writing advice through writing metaphors. I'm just going to check one thing really quickly because we're doing this live. So I want to make sure that my audio is coming in all right. And hopefully everything looks good there. So I'm going to just keep going. I just got back from a weekend with my family. Now, I love my family, but I am exhausted. The constantly needing to interact with people and keep up conversations, even though I want to know more about their lives and their everything they've been doing for the summer, it drains me in ways that it doesn't for, say, the more outgoing members and extroverted people within my family. In fact, they joke about how I hit a finite limit at parties. There'll be tons of things going on, tons of people having fun, doing whatever, and just interacting and in general just being very loud. And then I will sit on the couch for, well, not like loud, but there's people there's conversations going on. In the middle of that, I will sit down on the couch for 20 minutes, just put my head on my chest and fall asleep. So, needless to say, I have some tendencies of somebody 30 years older than I am. It's also kind of funny because my dog does the same sort of thing where there was one point where a kid was crying and my dog just like looked noticeably disturbed because he had been woken up, and then it took, a couple minutes for him to go back to sleep. So yeah, I'm just like somebody either 30 years older than me or an annoyed dog. I don't know. Anyways, if I hadn't been with my family this past weekend, I would have spent most of the weekend by myself where I didn't really talk or interact with anyone and would be left to my own thoughts. I would be doing plenty. I would be fixing up the house. I'd be going for a run. I'd be playing games. I'd be reading. I'd be writing. I'd be doing all types of stuff. But I will be doing it by myself within the safety of my own home. That's largely by choice, like this upcoming weekend. I'm excited to have no plans and no obligations aside from the massive to-do list of repairs and fixing things around the house and writing and all this other stuff. It comes as no surprise that that does get lonely after a while, even when I spend some or a lot of that time with my wife alongside me. So yeah, I'm quite introverted. Each time I hang out with my friends, each time I hang out with my family, I need to sit down in quiet and just recharge. As for YouTube successes, that looks different to different people. I consider this channel a success because I've been doing it for over 2 years and I've met hundreds of talented authors and friends through it. In fact, a lot of them are here now, and I'm going to check the comments just to see what's going on. Yeah, so Richard, thank you for coming in. And oh boy, yeah. Let's see here. Oh, thank you, Cool Gamer, for joining in, and Bethany Votel. That's awesome that you all are here. I appreciate it, and we can all be introverts together. Yes. Yeah, so you all are agreeing with the awkward silences and the thought of keeping it as the thought of interacting with other people as sort of a bank or money, and this conversation will take out X number of dollars, this, then the other. So it's kind of like draining before you need to get a coffee or two. That's really smart, Bethany. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Is there any introvert relief when plans get canceled? Yes, plenty of it. There's, well, I don't need to go into any of the details, but yes, I do get quite excited when my friends can no longer make things. It sucks because I like hanging out with them, but at the same time, it's like, oh, look at all this free time I now have. I can get so much stuff done. Back to this channel, having it around for 2 years, meeting all of you, I consider that a success, even though I will never be monetized or grow to have 1,000 subscribers in order to reach that monetization minimum. That's not a realistic goal for me. That being said, here are my tips to achieve your goals, whether that is monetization or simply creating an author platform. First and foremost, break out of our shells. If you struggle with this, then consider creating an on-screen persona. For the most part, I like to think I'm the same person in real life that shows up in these videos, with the exception that I do swear a lot more in real life, and also the pre-recorded versions are more clear, concise, and pristine. Also, blatantly reading a script, either in that version and this one, I'm trying not to. I have a list of talking points, but I'm not really comfortable just having like one line and then taking it and running with it. So that's something that I would like to get to. But at the same time, that's not realistic for me and who I am. Now, if you watch my outtakes, there are a lot of mistakes in there, and me shouting profanities both at myself, well, at the camera, but specifically at myself for messing up. And each mistake that requires me to do another take of it. I can fix that. Hold on. There we go. Thanks, Richard. Let me see if I get that in the right order. As long as you're having fun with it, that is a success. Yes. Running with it. Thank you. I do try to throw in my puns whenever I can. And even so, I still feel like I'm me when I'm on camera. Whatever you're comfortable with, then do what works. You don't need to be on screen. You can interview other people. There's a couple of fans of this channel, people who I like hanging out with, who I have no idea what they look like because all I see is their little icon. Just like probably at work, people are always surprised by who I am because my icon is my dog. So they have no idea whatsoever for what I look like. And it's always, you get the one little awkward moment when you recognize them and you're in the elevator at, let's say, a company event, and then they have no idea who you are. But so you can interview people, you can have like a little PowerPoint thing going on in the background. You're still talking or giving advice. You're just talking about whatever you want to talk about. If you're doing a show recap or a book recap, you can be having the book icon in the center of the screen, and then you can flip over to the specific pages. And yes, I have actually taken Rufus to work. That was at the old place when the offices were down the road. Fun fact: I didn't realize that we weren't allowed to bring dogs there, so I brought them there twice because it was just easier than leaving them in daycare. And then there was a nice little building-wide announcement that a friendly reminder that dogs were not allowed on company property. I checked through with everybody at my workplace. Nobody cared. They never said anything was wrong with it. They said they brought their dogs before, but whatever. It was the building's policy, and I tried to do my due diligence. Anyways, you don't need to be on screen. Just try and either have something on screen and then you're talking behind it, or initiate discussions and then just take part in them after the fact. So YouTube is inherently about putting ourselves out into the world. So the first major obstacle to overcome is just being comfortable with who we portray ourselves to be. And what that means is start talking to the camera, whether or not somebody's there on the other side. If you want to just do pre-recorded, if you're live and you're actually sort of having a conversation with people, just do it more often until you become comfortable, or play pretend and imagine you're someone else. Then start talking in front of the camera and doing the exact same thing with being comfortable with who you are or who you want to portray yourself to be. That being said, after 2 years, my mind still locks up every time I hit that go live button and start a new video. That's why I'm glad that there's a good 30-second period where there's the banner running and you have some background music so that I can sort of center myself and visualize what I want to say and how I want to interact with you all. Because that changes very quickly once I make a mistake and things go downhill exponentially quickly. Like when I forget what I want to say next. And yeah, see, you can tell my timing when I try and throw in jokes and force them in there. It's very bad because it's fake and I got a script that I'm trying to read off of. But I thought it was funny, so I decided to include this. And that's why I start off with pre-recorded videos. I could mess up every word and you would be none the wiser when you watch the final product. Unless, of course, I send out a video with the outtakes because I'm a masochist. Think about it this way. The worst that can happen is I say something stupid on the internet and it's one sentence, one phrase, whatever, among the 10 or 20-minute videos that I'm doing. And I'm doing live episodes more frequently, so those mistakes, they're going to happen. but I just aim to have better interactions with you all at the risk of saying something dumb, which is permanently saved on the internet. And I really do like these live episodes because, thank you, Richard, because you are there having conversations about what I'm saying. And at the same time, I can feel like I'm actually having a conversation, which is just a really great feeling because you're commenting on what I say, and then I'm commenting on what you say. And then within the chat, while I'm trying to have trying to say what I'm trying to within this episode. You all are having your own conversations. It sort of builds off each other, which is a wonderful, wonderful feeling. And that's why I'm so comfortable breaking more out of my shell than I used to be, because I've grown comfortable with how I am on camera. That's just something that I've gotten more and more used to. And as I've seen you all in other videos, as I've chatted with you all in the comments after each video, after I've seen you in other people's channels, after we've had live stream events or hangouts or whatever, it just becomes easier and easier to feel more comfortable. And that leads me right into number 2. Be more vocal. Chat with people. Get started in there. Say hi when people show up. So, hi, RC Scott. Glad you could join us, and welcome, welcome. So not just in our own channels, but expand outward. In fact, I was already a presence. I mean, presence is a relative term, but I was already interacting with other AuthorTubers before I decided to create Running to Write. I had a vague desire to do something like this, brought on mostly by good friends who had their own weekly podcast. What pushed me to start was Jen Moressi's AuthorTube channel, and multiple videos she and a couple of other AuthorTubers of 5 years ago now, probably, maybe even more than that at this point, they kept recommending that we start our own YouTube channel yesterday. 5 years ago, the recommendation was to start it yesterday because you cannot start a channel soon enough. You want to get yourself out there. You want to find a community and help inspire our writing or inspire others. And the fastest way to do that is to start hosting a channel immediately. Yeah. Thank you, RC. Be more vocal. Yeah, RC, you have no problem with that. I've heard you on other people's channel, and you're not afraid to speak your mind, which is completely awesome. And by putting yourself out there, the best way to find yourself, find your community, find your friends, find other AuthorTubers who are your beta readers, beta read other people, just meet other great authors and learn from them and try and teach them at the same time that you're learning from them. Well, the best way to do that is to have a community. And one of the best, if that's not good enough, you can fast track that by making friends with an extrovert. They'll push you out of their comfort zone. And as much as Richard claims he's an introvert, I know he does have, within our conversations, you have expressed that you are quite introverted. You are much more extroverted and outgoing than I am. So to name names, you frequently tell me when other AuthorTube channels live streams are happening, and you convince me to hop in and say hi, even when I'm at work and I can't really do anything. So I'll just lurk in the corner and I'll just listen to other people having fun and chatting away. So you bring me along to plenty of live streams that I would have otherwise skipped or not known about simply because I'm not paying attention or just getting off work. And that brings me to number 3. Engage with the community. And speaking about engaging, Richard, I don't have OnlyFans. That's just bad. Nobody would pay money to see that, so I do not, in fact, have OnlyFans. Anyways, some of the most stalwart supporters and people who I enjoy hanging out with, I met in the AuthorTube community and on other channels. I think it was actually Barrett Laurie's channel where so many of us came together. So from Jenna Morassi, I found out about the entire AuthorTube community, and that got me involved and watching Barrett Laurie's channel. And then I met people in the chat, and those conversations carried not off. I mean, they kept up online, but they were offline in terms of the live stream, and that's been a lot of fun. So I watched other people's videos. I like what they were doing, and I reached out. And I guess that's kind of a lie because it's not really usually me reaching out. So just like that neighbor who I only met because I was outside mowing my lawn with like a little push mower because I have a stretch of maybe a 10 by 10 lawn, and it's not worth getting like a fully automated some kind of powerful mower. Anyways, the only reason why I met my neighbor is because he is extremely extroverted and he just saw me out there and came over and said hi. And that led me to hang out with him. And I mean, he's since moved away, but for a while he was inviting me out to a whole bunch of parties, and I was just meeting a whole bunch of other people because I made friends with an extremely extroverted person. And then in the AuthorTube community, I would see somebody asking a question in the comments and I would comment on that. Or I get a flash of bravery and directly comment on something somebody said, or I'll post something in the video and somebody will comment on that. And one thing just sort of leads to another in a snowball way. And sure enough, that's how I met some of my other writing groups. There's a Discord group that sort of fell apart since, but it's been really fun watching the couple of guys, Mark and a bunch of other people, getting together and how many books some of them have written in the amount of time it's taken me to do two. I think he's done about 10. So, you know, definitely a much faster throughput than I do. And hey, just Eva, thank you for joining in. So when someone's making an effort to go out there and say hi, I want to go through the effort of saying hi back, and maybe we'll have shared interests. And so we strike up conversations. And from there, hello, Discord. And over time, I've extended more olive branches and had more olive branches extended to me. So these conversations in other channels they're imperative to growing my platform. I would maybe do two by the time you may do 10 by the time I do two. We'll see. We'll see, Eva. I'm averaging maybe 2 years between each book. So I don't know. We'll see what I can do. But it is so great to have this phenomenal place where we can cheer each other on and suggest great videos and rein each other back when we're doing or making controversial hot takes. And at this point, this has become easy enough for me. There still is a lot of room for improvement, but now my biggest obstacle to joining channels or other events or whatever is time rather than just being too nervous. So this is an open call out there. If anyone is looking for an author friend, go ahead and say hi in the chat. No matter if you're in the live stream or if this is months or years after this video comes out, just say hi. And if you're looking for beta readers, if you're looking for any kind of help whatsoever for writing or just life questions, I guess, go ahead and throw your name in the comments and just say hi and say, hey, I'm looking for XYZ. And hopefully somebody will come up to you or will comment in the comments and you'll get a hit. So let's see. What's my most controversial hot take? No, I'm not falling for that, Richard. I've had some controversial hot takes here and there. Nothing too spicy. I don't remember any off the top of my head, but now is a good time to actually answer some of those questions. So I know you posted a few earlier. Let's see. Emma Bennett wanted to know, where do I get my blankets from? Is it IKEA? Don't know if that's a reference to anything or if I've even shown blankets on screen, but I don't know. I haven't bought a new blanket in years, but I don't think it's been IKEA. It's probably been Target or something easy like that. So I don't know. Then there's another question coming up. And let's see here. One of the reasons you don't do pre-recorded videos on YouTube is because I have an absolute fear of watching myself back on camera. How do you combat this? I don't know. I think that there's pros and cons to doing a pre-recorded video versus a live. I really like doing pre-recorded videos because it gives me a chance to fix all the mistakes I make. So if I'm swallowing or if I'm doing something, if there's some background noise, if a fan goes off in the background, if there's a car, or if I just mess up a line, I can cut it, undo it, or rather redo it, and then do enough times that there will be at least one cut where I have a good version to ultimately end up in the final version. Whereas live streams, yes, I have no idea how I sound, so I don't know if I'm making any mistakes. I can only assume. I can tell some of the mistakes, but I can't tell if I do any specific nuances. And I've already heard me do quite a few ticks where I'm using the word just too much, which is something I'm trying to work on. And you're right. I probably won't rewatch any of these live streams because I don't know. I don't think I'll gain anything by doing it. And I don't really want to listen to myself. I don't want to listen to myself talk. So you're right. I have no idea how I'll sound. So that's one of the benefits of doing a live stream. So, whatever you're comfortable with, whatever works best for you. I am doing more live streams as I'm getting more and more comfortable because my work life is starting to pick up, my social life is starting to pick up. It's the summer, there's all types of other things, and spending 10 to 15 hours editing a video or recording a video, editing it, getting it out there. I much rather would come up with something to say, come up with a script, come up with ideas, and do it live, get it out of the way in basically 2 hours time total, where it's, 20, 30 minutes in here, and then I do maybe a couple of hours of prep beforehand. Author tubers are like work friends. Yes, they're like work friends that you enjoy hanging out with. There is a job that I had before where I really didn't like or respect most of my coworkers, and all of the mandatory fun events I dreaded because, yeah, I really didn't. I have almost nothing nice to say about that workplace, and I will say that almost everybody who I respect or who was intelligent was gone in 6 months. Like they were there, they saw it was a dumpster fire, and they quit in 6 months. So to be fair, there were also people who were there for say a month or 6 months or whatever who were fired because of gross negligence and incompetence. But you know, there's a reason I don't work there anymore. And yeah. Anyways, I have a lot of great work friends now, so I'm in a much, much better place. And some of them are actually author friends. So we have, I don't know, once or twice a month, we'll get together and just talk books or talk writing because they're really creative and they've come up with some fun stuff. Anyways, number 4, say yes. So building off my last point, where if you're posting something in the comments and you're looking for beta readers, say yes when it makes sense. Don't overly burden yourself, and don't feel pressured to help. Despite my previous comment about how you want to put yourself out there and beta read and do beta swaps and whatever. Early on in my professional career, I was able to say yes to a lot of projects because I had a lot of free time. I was single. I was living near where I worked, so I wasn't really spending much time commuting. And I wanted to get as much experience and knowledge as I could. So I said yes to a lot of different projects, and that vastly expanded my roles and experiences such that I was able to get years of application development, software development lifecycle, and security experience in a matter of months. And that skyrocketed my successes and set me up for years of continual successes professionally. And it made a lot of mistakes along the way, the greatest of which was my tendencies to lead directly towards mentally burning out from taking on too many of these said responsibilities. So it is definitely a double-edged sword. And while it is great to say yes to get some wonderful opportunities, it's also nice to say no to a lot of things too. So in that way, um, there were definitely scenarios where I was a double-edged sword, and I don't want to get into too many of those stories because I'm being recorded for the internet, and most of the stories devolve into, to paraphrase the line from The Big Lebowski, I was nowhere wrong. It's just that I was an asshole. So yeah, yeah, fun times. So I can definitely be cutthroat and a double-edged sword because the same things that I was praised for, I was also um, there were a lot of talks with HR and bosses because I would definitely hit the red button when there were issues, whether it was on my own team or outside of it. And I had full evidence of problems, but sometimes they liked hearing the problems when they involve somebody else. When I pointed the mirror at them, or when I double edged sword or whatever, they didn't really like that as much. So whatever. Enough of work life. Those same stories can be applied to writing, where for a while I was just trying to do as many bay reads as possible, but that was definitely hindering my own writing. And yes, sorry for going deep there for a minute with that, Richard. And hey, Margaret, thank you for joining us. So appreciate you coming in on a Monday night and knowing your limits. So, like I said, there was a while where I was doing so many beta reads, and it was definitely impacting my writing, where I wasn't able to write or edit or do as much as I wanted, but I was out there and trying to help as many people as I could, but it was coming at the cost of my own work. So say yes when it makes sense. And then my last point is to have fun. Specifically, do a fun and sarcastic video, just like this one. I care about this channel, and I care about all of you in this community. And at the same time, this is a hobby, so I enjoy the relationships that we've formed. And if you already have a channel, spice it up with some snarky attitude. Like right now, where I'm basically doing a Kevin Smith level of fourth wall breaking. Sometimes jokes land, most won't. No matter what, have fun. Our emotions, our excitement, my glazed over look of terror, all of that comes through in these videos, and that comes through more with live. So I try and do more live videos now, and I have a couple of pre-recorded ones for if I'm unavailable for a week, if I'm on vacation, if I run out of ideas. But for the most part, I'm going to try and do more live because, like I said, they're a lot more fun. And yes, snarky to write. Yep. And say no things like plans. That sounds like a great thing to say no to. Yes. All right. Good to know. So yeah, if you're on the fence, then it's where you fall that day. If you're busy, if you're too busy to put yourself out there, then maybe you'll be more introverted and you'll do more self-care. And that's great. That's whatever you need, do it. And that's another thing that I've enjoyed about these live streams. They teach me how to be comfortable with not perfect. Not to say that my pre-recorded videos are perfect, but I feel like I strive more for saying things exactly how I want to say them, or as close to exactly how I want to say them, or as close to how I envision that I want to say them. Whereas here, I'm just speaking. They're a lot rougher, and the ideas are still there, but they might not be conveyed in as best a way as possible. And there are a lot of ums and ahs and mistakes along the way. And those are my 5 bullet points for finding success on YouTube while being really introverted. And before we head off, I am going to see here. So there's one last question. So might be outside the scope, but let's see here. Oh, talking about how you realized that you were an introvert, or your recognition that being an introvert isn't a bad thing. So yeah, growing up, I was friends with a lot of extroverted people, and we would hang out parties, we would go places, and I would be the one person, I'd say something occasionally, and I would try and talk to people, but I would mostly be sitting back listening because I don't know, even if we were saying the exact same thing. Yeah, I'll go off on a slight tangent with that one. But even if we were saying the exact same thing, I would enjoy hearing it from somebody else's mouth more than when I would say those same things. In fact, there was one time where I was at a party. I want to say this is either in college or like shortly thereafter. Anyways, I had this great joke, and I was telling to a bunch of my friends, and I told it, whatever, and there were a couple of laughs there, but there was this one guy who was sitting next to me, and he's this really charismatic guy. And so, sure enough, an hour later, we're all having fun, we're all getting drunk, and he tells the exact same inappropriate joke, and his delivery is spot on and just like everyone around who heard just burst out laughing. So, you know, there is definitely a difference between recognizing our limitations and how well we can work a crowd. And know, I definitely made fun of him a little bit for that one because he reused something I exactly almost word for what I said. But at the same time, I didn't really care as much at that point. I got into a place in my life where I was comfortable. I didn't care about being the center of attention. I didn't need or want to be that. And I knew, well, I knew at that party that like as much as I want to hang out with everyone, it would take me probably a day to want to hang out with people again. So I better get in as much quality time with my friends as I could handle because I'm going to just unwind the next day or the next couple of days or whatever. So know your limits and understand what it takes for you to enjoy being around people and that it's okay to not want to go to parties or when you're at parties to recognize that you're going to need a couple of days to just unwind afterwards. In fact, sorry, talking about drop plans, I used to be part of this kickball league and that's where I met a lot of my friends. But eventually we got to the point where we just decided, hey, we don't really feel like going to kickball each week and it's becoming a burden. So we would hang out outside of kickball just in smaller groups or we would have like the one big party we would hang out on July 4th, we would get everyone together and we'd all have fun, but those would be few and far between and now it's just more like these smaller gatherings and it's a lot easier to have fun with each other than how we used to be when we were much younger. And hey, thank you, Mama Maggie, for joining in. It's awesome for being here. And probably with my bees, they call me. Ooh, yeah, that's you have built-in white noise right there, where it's just a nice buzz constantly going through there. And thank you, Richard, for providing the mandatory pun. Awesome. So with that, I don't think there are any more questions unless I missed any. And if there are, then yes, please comment them in the chat. Feel free to DM me, do whatever. I'm here to listen. And Richard, I'm ignoring that one. With that, that's all I got for you tonight. And I'm going to go have dinner and just unwind from even this small amount of social interaction. So I'm Ben Pick. Thank you for joining me in Running to Write. Let me know in the comments how you measure success on YouTube. Whether you're an introvert, whether you're an extrovert, what's the most introverted, what's the worst, well, let's not do that, but what's the worst social gathering that you've had to overcome that you're comfortable saying out loud? I have a great one where we were at a party and I was the designated driver, but it was late and I was just exhausted. So I, again, sat down on the couch and just passed out. And so everyone was really worried because they saw the designated driver asleep. And everyone was really worried because they thought that I'd been drinking. But, I just woke up immediately and was like, no, I'm just exhausted. Although at the same time, I was also working construction, sleeping like 2 or 3 hours a night. So there were a whole lot of other health issues going on with that. Anyways, I post my writing and writing progress on YouTube, on Instagram, and Twitter as Writing to Write. So be sure to follow me and join with your own thoughts. Also, I have a monthly newsletter. So if you want regular updates on everything, all my goings-ons, dog photos, we have running updates, we have my indie author showcase where I talk about whatever indie book I read that month. You can sign up at Running to Write, and I'll post the link in the description below. I haven't done that yet, so I'm going to have to do that now, but I will do that momentarily. So see you next time. Until then, take the plunge and be more active in YouTube. Say hi to people or even gasp in real life. Say hi to people, wave to your neighbor, do something that's just not really, don't cross any lines, but just try and be more out there. But especially in AuthorTube and YouTube where you're safe behind a camera and computer. So take care, everyone, and I will see you next week. My plan is to talk about the tools I use when writing because I've been going over the little laptop thing that I have along with the sneaker netting, all my information over there. So I will see you next week, same time, and have fun.